So, I mean, I think the general idea was basically just to get me in the boat and run through the setup side of how we set the boat up. And then at any point, feel free to ask questions, and at the end we can do a bit more, and you can ask questions about if there's anything I've missed or didn't really talk about. I think we do need to update our tuning guide, because I did things a bit differently this year than what Richie had done previously. Still all the same kit, but just going about it in a slightly different way. So probably easiest to start at sort of today's conditions, and then work up through the range.
Yes, fit and outboard.
So, I mean, in principle, very light winds, sub 4 knots, sub 5 knots, crew in the bottom of the boat or to leeward. We would be looking to get as much bend in the mast as we possibly can, and also looking to reduce rig tension to soften the forestay and just make it all a bit more user friendly. So the boat at the moment is set up on 2410 as our maximum upright setting, and if it was this light, I would reduce the rig tension. So without changing the shrouds, I would ease the forestay just a small amount. So that's going from sort of 29 on the shrouds to 27, just to make it a little bit easier to steer to the jib. Jib Cunningham would be soft, so you've got creases up the front of the jib, so the entry's a little bit flatter. And then the other big one that I think pretty much everyone in Flying 15s is aware of is we would be pulling the mast forward in the gate. We're basically putting plenty of bend in the rig, flattening the mainsail off, and it's all about just trying to create flow and making it easy to sail the boat. The other thing we do as well is we'd be pulling the jib cars back and dropping the sheet angle to twist the top of the jib. So it's all about flat sails and generating flow and making the boat easy to sail. From there, at the point that you then start to get a bit of breeze, enough to bring the crew up to windward or onto the side of the boat, you'd then be finding with this current setup that you can't really get the top of the main leach to close, you can't get the top of the jib to close, the jib's sheeting through the foot and it's all a bit flat, and you're now getting into the area where you're looking to find as much power as you can. So at that point, jib cars would move forwards, so which sort of couple of inches change on that. The ram would go back to a neutral position. Is everyone sort of clear of what I'm saying with the neutral position? Yeah. Basically where it would sit on the rake setting if you didn't have any control. So you just literally, clear calibration on the deck here on the back of the protector on the mast. So, and that's then set for quite a number of rake settings, and I would be bringing the rig tension back up. So we're now back on 2410, and that's pretty much then set until we get overpowered. So that's from crew sat on the side to fully hiked, kicker on, and Cunningham on. Or when we're starting to look to produce Cunningham, we then look to change the rig gear. Is everyone keeping up so far? Yeah. Are there any questions? Anyone bored yet? No? Okay, good.
You were leaving at 2410 forward there.
So effectively, where at the very lightest would be 24.9. So the pins are still set for 24.10, but I've dropped the rig tension. So I've dropped the forestay to 24.9, which is going from 29 to 27 on here. Softens up the luff a little bit, but it's letting a little bit of rake in, opening the top of the leach. It's all just making it a little bit easier, but it also gives you that little bit of extra rake, gives you a little bit more feel on the helm as well. Just makes it a little bit easier to kind of feel what the boat's doing, because keel boats in no wind don't give you a lot of feedback really.
Can I just ask you, the 10, is that the number of holes on your...
No, sorry, 24 foot to 10, as in measuring top of the mast to the back of the boat.
Oh,
yeah.
Not centimetres.
Okay. 24 foot to 10, old school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Old school,
it's an old design boat.
Yeah.
Well, there is that.
Why rake is still done in feet and inches, it is.
When do you start to change your shrouds then?
Right. So if you then going at wind, fully hiked, kicker's on, and the boom's now coming off the centre line. At the point I then feel that the boat is becoming hard to sail, and by that I mean you've got constant weather helm, and I can't keep steering, I can't steer the boat where I want to steer it, it's kind of stuck in a high mode. And the other tell is that the boom is over on the corner of the boat. So your boom's starting to go outside the deck,
Yeah.
I would then rake. And that is, and I'm happy to do that in a race as well. So without changing the pins, I would go,
Change the lure first.
I wouldn't, so without changing the pins, if I'm racing and I feel I'm overpowered, go from 24.10 to 24.9
Oh, right.
to 24.8.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll go 2 settings back without changing pins,
Okay.
happily,
That's
just on the rig tension. And as soon as you rake, the first thing you notice is the helm goes neutral and the boat starts going in a straight line again.
So what happens to your jib luff when you're doing that?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay.
So the Flying 15, you're basically, your leeward shroud is always slack
Yeah.
when you're going upwind.
Yep.
So your your force tension isn't being generated by rig tension, it's being generated by leech tension.
Okay.
So as you rake back, you don't lose the
Right.
force there. And so with that, if you take the last day of the Nationals, which
Mm.
was
Windy.
quite windy,
Yeah.
and we set up on 24/7, 29 on the shrouds.
Yeah.
When we got out of the water, we went back to 24/5 without moving the pins.
David Pipe asked a question about the effect of dropping back the rig on luff tension, which I missed recording, and that's what Ben's about to answer.
You don't see any noticeable difference in the. I mean, are you losing a little bit of luff maybe? But you're in a situation where you're overpowered, and it's
So you're a little sad, but
yeah.
that point is getting
It's already slack anyway, so you're going more slack. Your rig is going more sideways, but that is effectively opening the slot,
right.
and it's letting the rig. I mean, so fireballs, 505 stuff like that. If you sort of go back in time, one of the things they used to do when they got overpowered was let the rig tension go, and this is no different. Yeah, it's just looking for ways that you can evolve the setup during a race to deal with the conditions.
But not during the race. You would maybe alter it. But
Yeah,
high
I'd say
wind day.
I'm not worried about the rig tension, and I think if you had what we will do is discuss it at the bottom of each run. So if it's a day where we've set up on 24.10 and we've dropped back to 24.9, 200 metres from the leeward mark, the conversation is how's the pressure look on the next beat? Do we want to be pulling it back on, or are we happy to start the next beat on 24.9? And if there's any doubt, we pull it back on, because one thing we can't do, we'll just set up on this boat at the moment, is we can't adjust it going upwind forwards, because there isn't enough purchase. So we have to make that decision on the run. But it's also, again, it's as you come, coming out of the leeward mark, the chances are you're going to be wanting to hold a lane or hold height. So start on the upright setting with as much power as you can, and then and then it's very easy for you or the crew to just reach in and drop it back again. No, I think if anything, it makes you point better, because you're getting your boom back closer to the centre line. You're getting everything back under control and making the boat easier to sail.
When you're in the off, you're back to your 24 or whatever.
Yeah,
How slack is that? Real slack.
fairly.
Very slack.
Yeah, yeah. But it's not, it's not sort of, the rig's about to fall over kind of scale. It's not. And I think the other thing you're getting with that as well, people worry about rake having an impact on downwind. If you're letting the force go, but you're not moving the shrouds, when you go downwind, your rig is where it was anyway.
Ben, you're so I've been using gauges for years and I'm an old car, known speed for years as well.
Yeah.
He's much more upright than you.
Yeah.
He tells everyone to be much more upright. not so much from the upwind, but the penalty downwind.
Yeah.
Are you pulling the rig, if you've let your rig back, are you pulling it forward as far as you can when you get downwind?
If you're on a long course, there would definitely be an argument. So it's, you know, as I say, if you've set for 24.8 and you've gone back to 24.6 on the upwind, there would definitely be an argument when you go around with Mark to pull it back on.
Go slow.
But fundamentally, the shroud length is still the same. So if you drop back, the rig when you go downwind isn't necessarily particularly further back, because all the load is pushing the rig forward anyway.
That's why he starts to. He's got a big chip.
I'd much rather get to the Wimbledon Mark in the front group and you know, suffer a slight penalty downwind if there is one. To be honest, I haven't really noticed in this boat going downwind that I think rake is a. I mean, you know, if you're talking the difference between 24.10 and 24.5, then maybe you would start to see something. But at that point, it's so windy.
Yeah.
You're planing anyway. It probably isn't a.
And you've got the old jib car
Yeah.
system. Are you any thoughts about being able to come in and out?
I think specifically with our jib, it's got quite a lot of lower leach return, so it isn't a major factor for us. I think like with all these things, like there will be a wind strength, and it's probably about a 2 knot band in flat water where it will pay to have it, and then the rest of the time you'll be back in the same position. And I think the danger with all this stuff is you end up overcomplicating it and questioning it all. And you know, if you think about what I've just talked through there, we're actually, in real terms, it's pretty basic what we're doing. We're not, you know, we've got sort of 2 settings for the jib cars. The ram is set. The only thing that happens with that is when you rake back sort of 24/7 and beyond, we'd start to pull a bit more on because you start to get starvation.
Yeah.
But we're just trying to keep it all really simple. And again, I think, you know, if you start having 3 positions of in and out on that as well.
In your camp.
Yeah. Plus the crews apparently keep complaining about it digging into the back of their legs, which no one likes a moaning crew.
They would like that.
Do you see that this is adjustable?
Yes.
Do you actually tweak that?
No. Same again. I played around with it a little bit, and I think it'll be the same thing again, where there'll be a 10-12 knots flat water, where it might come in handy. But yeah.
On that point, Phil, I asked, when I was speccing my boat, I asked Richie, who used to sell this boat, how he used those and whether he'd recommend them on my new boat. And he said, I used them, at the Naturals that were here, he said he used them twice. And every time he used them, he sailed faster, but he was worried so much about stalling the rig, that he lost ground because he wasn't keeping an eye on the bigger picture. So the general consensus was it wasn't worth it.
So there is definitely I think there's other guides that say rather than raking to let the ram go forwards. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think the best way I've ever heard it described is thinking about the bend like a bubble in a spirit level. And the bend is going to go somewhere in the rig. And if you let the ram go forwards, you're letting the bend in low down, which effectively then straightens up the top of the rig. So as I rake back, I want to be pulling the ram on to bring depth back into the bottom of the main, so that you're keeping the fullness down low centre of effort, and allowing the top of the bend to go up into the top of the rig and blade the top of the sail.
So the only time you have your mast not in neutral position is in the right conditions.
Can you just go over what you were saying about the jib and returning the bottom of the jib, because you couldn't hear anything.
Right. So different sails, different design philosophies. Our jib is quite deep low down. It's got quite a lot of lower leach return, which requires less inboard sheeting.
Right.
Because if you overdo the inboard sheeting, all you do is end up pointing the leach at the back of the mainsail and stalling everything up. So I think with where the you know, this whole moving board is coming about. Jibs are then being developed in order to allow to do that,
Right.
in principle.
Talk us through bags, pros and cons, other than
Put your sandwiches in them.
Yeah, yeah. Good lunch. Good lunch spots. Given the choice, I would move away from them.
would you?
Yeah, I think. So when I sailed Flying 15s before, going back sort of 10 odd years ago with my dad, who was a good, fireball crew from the 70s and 80s, and his boat, he had bags, single pole, basically exact same setup as this, because that was what he'd done previously. And when he bought that boat, it had a chute, and I was pretty anti, because it's the whole thing of standing out, tiller between your legs, hoisting the spinnaker, and you're doing it in amongst half a dozen other boats, or you're coming into a little mark and you're trying to pull the kite down. And with the fit outs now, it's moved across to having a setup where the crew can hoist and drop. And I know that's what Chris Turner does on his boat. So I think at that point,
All the good boats are out there.
you can, I think if you can make it the crew's problem, which it seems the layouts have now done, I think, probably if you're in a lot of space, you can get the crew doing the pole and the helm hoisting, and it's probably quicker. If you're surrounded by a bunch of other boats, it's nice to have a layout where the crew can literally go hoist, pole, or come into the mark, pole away, drop, and the helm can just focus on doing the steering. A chute is always going to be a quicker hoist and drop than a bag. And then the only other negative obviously is water through the boat, but from what everyone's telling me, if you've got a really good cover on the front, it's not really a problem anyway.
As long as you remember to shut it.
Yeah.
Or open it.
Yeah.
Yes, if you forget, it's not fast.
So, do you ever get on windy days where you ease the kipping in order to twist this on? Or have you done it all on rig tension?
So it's all been done with the rake. And I think as well, where it's quite a long topmast and quite a soft section for what the boat is, so the Cunningham's quite effective. You can get the top of the sail pretty flat. So
What do you do with the Cunningham? It's a big debate here about Cunningham swivel used in
definitely use it. To the boats that don't use it, not rig it. They just leave it on
Some
the shore.
don't. Depends who you talk to.
Right.
Very heavyweight. Very heavyweight.
I don't think you need to. Some boats you can literally pull the Cunningham as hard as you possibly can. I don't think 5 things that boat. But it is a pretty powerful control. Landing and twisting is such a big problem. So I would definitely be using it. Alright, we're all cold enough.
If there's no more questions, I mean, Ben's hoping to keep his boat down here, well, he's going to keep his boat down here for a little while, until the end of the season. And we'll be down again. Because of his busy life, we can't commit to when that will be. But we'll have more chance to quiz Ben and look forward to showing him where all the boys are around the harbour and where the time bits are. Which we're hoping might give us a chance of seeing the transom of his boat by the finish.